Hi, welcome to the Kachmann Show. This one is on diabetes prevention and reversal. I think you'll like this. It's only 30 minutes long. But before I get started on that, actually one of my favorite subjects, because diabetes, especially type 2, is preventable, stoppable, and 90% chance of reversible, 4 to 6 weeks. Yes, quickly. So I want you to take an interest in this. And today, for example, there was an exhibit here. I'm at the public library downtown, the main one, and they were having a wonderful fair outside, and I walked through there. There were 20 tables, and I would say maybe one person there was healthy, the other all had evidence that they're diabetic. And I hate to say this, but I'm not being critical of them. No one's obviously taught them. And it represents the state of health in this state or this county and maybe this nation. And I'm not being critical of them, but to me, and I met 2 or 3 of them who will give me an opportunity to coach them in private and to connect to the companies they represent to make this even bigger. So I look at it as an opportunity. These were intelligent people, okay? That means the basic knowledge was not presented to them, because had they known what I think their metabolic state is, it's a significant thing. Before we get started, though, let me bring up a minute here. This is Breast Cancer Month. I have a flyer with me. If you need it, so you can hand it out to other people, let me know. And I even wrote a book on it. And I'll read to you what it says. And right here, it's on Amazon, a book I wrote on it. I'm not trying to sell books. I'm trying to give away information. And what does it say? Breast cancer. Prevention is the cure. Yes, I have a name in that book that you see right here. That's the name of the book. And I review it, and we collect a lot of money in this city, and we send it all to Indianapolis, because they may be thinking, I don't know, only 3% of breast cancer is based on your genes. The rest is partly gene expression, and mostly because the people that get it were type 2 diabetics. Let me read this to you. Breast cancer is the most common life-threatening disease to affect women worldwide. Now, here in the paper I read the other day, I used to say 200,000 people in this country develop breast cancer, but it's up to 280,000. It's increasing. Around, here it says 1.5 million new cases per year in the world. Probably it's closer to 2. And 280,000 yearly cases occur in the U.S., with over 40,000 deaths. Most women don't know that 50 to 70% of breast cancer can be avoided by having a normal weight, avoiding cigarettes and alcohol, and exercising regularly. What an opportunity. So to take all the money that we, from these fundraisers we're having, and send them to Indianapolis for gene research, I don't know what people are thinking. I hope some of you will say something to the breast cancer people about this. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they just, I don't. Their name in the building. They want to make it more famous. It's been determined that it takes about 70 to 100 genes. You'd have to be almost on 100 drugs to treat breast cancer, no less to avoid it. That's just to treat it once you got it. What I'm talking about is preventing it. If I would say 80% of the people with breast cancer are type 2 diabetics. Prevent type 2 diabetes, and they won't have breast cancer. So this is available I provided. I left some at the library, but if you want copies, I gladly give them to you. It has something in the back too, other books you might like to read. And so let's get on the path here. Why am I so passionate about this? Because you can get rid of type 2 diabetes in about 3 to 6 weeks. Yeah, it's in other books. It's not just in my books. Yeah, it's in many other books. And what does diabetes cause? I mean, this is just some of the diseases that it causes. Blindness, retinal disease, cataracts, dental disease. Almost all dental disease is to you feeding sugar to the bacteria, okay? Liver disease, liver transplants, vascular disease, breast cancer, multiple cancers, liver, kidney, bowel, ovarian, hip and knee arthritis, dislocations, amputations, all due to diabetes can be avoided. Why am I so passionate about it? Why do I feel this way? Because I have the knowledge. I wrote a book because I think just to touch this issue, I'm done with it. Medical industry, pharmaceutical industry, even the medical school are not teaching the medical students how to avoid, prevent diabetes. I know, I've been there. I talked to all of them. I dropped books off at the medical school so I could maybe teach the students one day, because they're not doing it. And the hospitals are full of complications of diabetes, which I just read to you, which could be avoided, okay? So I declared war on diabetes. Here, a copy of the book right here. Rudy's War on Diabetes. Why did what are your bullets, Rudy? What are your tanks? My bullets are information. I will tell you how to prevent it, stop it, reverse it. It can be done a good 90% of the time. And our public health people aren't doing it, okay? They say get a shot for the virus. So the virus, top it all off, the virus is a sugar feeder. So who do you think is going to get the infection and die from it? The diabetics. 90% of the people die in New York from the virus 19 and the coming influenza virus are diabetics. Our public health guy says, get a shot for the virus. That's good. I got all my shots, and I'll get any future shots. I totally believe in vaccination. But if you're diabetic, you're much more higher to be infected and die from it. Many more people die from diabetes. What an opportunity Fauci had, the Republicans, the Democrats, or public health to step up to bat and tell the people, get rid of your diabetes, you won't die from the virus. Yes, yes. Let me back up in history a little bit. So I try to, but you must participate. You must step up to bat because industry, pharmacy, medical schools, they'll not do it. You got to step up to bat. And if you go onto YouTube, I got TV shows till they come out of your ears. I'm also FM radio 95.6. And I do a half-hour show on diabetes prevention every 2 weeks. A lot of information out there, okay? But let me, a book that I read many years ago, and Diabetes Epidemic in You, written by Joseph Kraft. I'll hold it up in a minute. Should everyone be tested? Absolutely not. Only those concerned about their future. Right here it is. Interesting enough, this book, they're not printing it anymore. I must have had 50 of them. I gave them all away, but this is my last one, and I'm not giving this one away. But I did the important things out of it are now in my books. My Rudy's War on Diabetes book, the things you need to know are in there from this book. And what Dr. Kraft did, he autopsied. He was a pathologist. He autopsied over 1,000 people, and he looked at the bottom line. What effect did diabetes have on the body? About 1,300 people. He then studied over 10,000 people, okay? It was done by his fellow doctors and him, and they pulled blood sugars and serum insulins on the patients and set up a bunch of curves. They're all in here. They came to a conclusion, if you pull serum insulins, which you can do now, you can go to the hospital or LabCorp or any test on DuPont. They will run the test for you. Serum insulins are elevated 10 to 15 years before the blood sugar is up, which is the usual way to identify that you have diabetes. You get a fasting blood sugar and an HbA1c, which is 3 months of blood sugars. And it's a good test to have. And if it's above 6.4, you're diabetic, okay. But Dr. Kraft would say pre-diabetes does not exist, that if your serum insulin is, say, at 1 hour over 20, you're diabetic. One test, simple, doesn't cost much either. I managed to bargain the cost of the test down at Any Test on DuPont, right behind Walgreens. It's called Any Test, Any Lab. Yeah, I managed to get the price way down. They'll run a glucose tolerance test, fasting blood sugar, insulin tolerance test, fasting insulin, maybe a couple $100. But actually, if you get one test, you just get a serum insulin at 1 hour. And if it's above 20, you're diabetic. Well, it certainly would be a lot cheaper, maybe $17. Okay, and what Joseph Kraft really did, he also has a YouTube. You can go into YouTube, put in Kraft, K-R-A-F-T. He's 92 years old. He's speaking to an obesity doctor, Dr. Cummings, and Dr. Kraft is saying, I will be looking down upon you before the hospitals, the pharmaceutical companies, and the government changes and start checking serum insulins so they could kill this epidemic. He's died since that time, and I firmly believe that he's looking down on me right now because I'm a real big promoter of this. Insulin testing, insulin testing, insulin testing. I weigh 200 pounds, I'm not diabetic. Well, you know what I would say? I know your fasting blood sugar, and I know your glucose tolerance test is normal, and I'm still not sure whether you're diabetic or not. I want you to get the serum insulin test. Why am I so passionate? Because all these diseases that are on here and many more could be prevented. You want your legs amputated? You want to go blind? Most of Alzheimer's disease is from diabetes. Over 50% of Alzheimer's disease could be prevented. Who wants that disease? That's well proven now. So get these tests done, and maybe read my book. And I have other books I'm going to hold up for you, which are very good. This is a book, Goodbye Pills and Needles by Tom Jelinek. Is a book. This really, if you come right down to it, is really the Bible of preventing diabetes and reversing it. It tells a true story. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic. Simple to read. He wrote it in a manner that anybody could read it. The Kraft book you could read in 3 nights. The Goodbye Pills and Needles, maybe a week or two. And I referred to it many times. It's even in the book. You will not believe what I have to tell you, but maybe you will believe, is that insulin, which they give to get the blood sugar down, to put the sugar into the cell, insulin takes the sugar, made by 3 different companies now, and remember they're arguing about the price in the press all the time. It should be, but I don't want you to have insulin unless you're type 1 diabetic, and I'll explain to you what type 1 type 2 is in a minute. Insulin takes the sugar, puts in the cell. Now the cell's got the sugar. So the problem isn't over with. You can use it for energy. If you don't need it for energy, you can convert it to glycogen by the liver, 100 100 calories in the liver, and 4 grams in the liver, and 400 in the muscles. Okay, so that's your glycogen storage system. But if you still have more sugar in the cell, it gets converted to fat. Now, when you stop eating sugary food and your blood sugar drops, then your insulin level drops, it'll get to a certain low level, and your fat cells open up, and it lets out fat. Now you have fatty acids in the blood, and they go to the liver and get converted to ketones. That's where that term comes from. The ketones are small fat energy molecules that you can use for energy. So your brain can run on ketones, your heart can run on ketones, a lot of other organs can run on ketones, not just sugar. And so ketone metabolism is important. Let's speak of a little bit of the difference between type 1 and type 2. In type 1 diabetes, the pancreas died totally, okay? You're not producing any insulin, and there's nothing to push sugar into the cell for energy, and you will die unless you take an insulin shot, okay? And years ago, they did. The majority did. But they found, too, though, Dr. Joslin found, who was the original researchers on the diabetes, if you feed people fat, which what we do in a ketogenic diet, the patients will actually live. They now type 1 diabetes, what causes that? They say autoimmune reaction, whether an antigen antibodies react and destroy your pancreas. Well, they found out now that milk drinkers are more likely to develop type 1 diabetes. Mm-hmm. Yet it's not big-time public knowledge. Yeah. Read a book called Joe Keon, Whitewash. If you drink milk again from a cow, I would be surprised. I would be surprised. When a cow is born, a baby cow, they inject it with a hormone so increase its ability to make milk. And then the cow gets put in a cage, and they give herbicides and pesticides so the cow really grows, and then it produces milk, and you're feeding this to your kid. That doesn't make any sense. You can have an autoimmune reaction to the casein in the milk and destroy your pancreas. Mm-hmm. Another one is gluten. About 10% of us are gluten sensitive. 1% maybe have celiac disease. And the gluten, the protein can destroy the pancreas too. So there are reasons that you can develop type 1 diabetes. It isn't all just an autoimmune disease. So I think that's pretty important to know. But the type 2 diabetic, the individual who has too much insulin, and then there's more insulin and more insulin and more insulin, eventually that pancreas dies too. And they need to live totally on insulin. So maybe to get them to follow a ketogenic diet, get rid of your diabetes, they never will need the insulin, okay? And so industry, to me, is helping form this huge pandemic. It's across the world. India, China, they all have a tremendous number of diabetics. If we were to teach people to eat properly, and it can actually be done, to make it even quicker, if one were to eat 2 meals a day fast, fasting 16-8, which is, I don't need to follow it, but it's what I do. I eat 2 meals a day. 200 years ago, people only ate 2 meals a day. It's only in recent years we started eating 3 meals a day. Your body, when it's through circadian rhythm and gets the morning, the body will secrete growth hormone, glucagon, the opposite of insulin, and some adrenaline, and your blood sugar levels are like this. I'm never hungry in the morning. I don't eat breakfast. I have a cup of coffee, and that's fine. Go pick a ball or something and eat at 11 or 12, and then eat again around 6. I'm not rigid about it. and weigh on 34 pounds. Never seem to be hungry because my blood sugar is not going like that. Yeah, I'm not providing. So when we have cereal and sugar and for breakfast, our blood sugar goes up and then it goes down, and I have no hunger because I'm eating about 50-70% good fats, 20% good protein. If you eat too much protein, like bodybuilders may take supplements and stuff, actually, our body will recycle broken down proteins, about 80% of them in the body, and we only need to take in 20 essential proteins. So we don't need to consume that much protein. It can be from plants. It doesn't have to be from meat, for example, and about 15% vegetables and fruit. Yeah, fruit is if you eat 80% fruit diet, like they were teaching in years past, and very many famous books are written about that. Actually, it's a lot of sugar in certain vegetables. So you can eat some vegetables. You got to be very careful what you're eating. Just pure lettuce, is fine, but most a carrot, for example, has a lot of sugar in it. But if you eat a small amount, that doesn't really matter. So 20-30% of the people have diabetes. They're thin. You are what your blood test is. Get the serum insulin, okay? And that the ones who are thin have a lot of fat in their liver and fat in their pancreas. They have found now, which is great, that even if you had type 2 diabetes for 30 years, if you start the keto way of eating, fasting a little bit, all the fat leaves your pancreas, and the pancreas will wake up and secrete insulin again. Yes, that was discovered by Dr. Fung, F-E-N-G. You can see him on YouTube all the time. He sells many books too, Diabetes Code, Cancer Code. He has very excellent books to read. Jason Fung, F-U-N-G. Follow him. A book to read, and your pancreas can wake up again, and this insulin gets secreted again. So, and metformin is a problem too, and that's well described in Dr. Jelinek's book, the story about metformin. Metformin makes you feel your cell is hungry to put sugar in, but then the cell's got the sugar. It also turns off gluconeogenesis in the liver, so there are problems actually with metformin too. But I want you to read more about it. Don't stop these medications, insulin or metformin, unless you get more information. Read Kraft's book, Jelinek's book, Fong's books, and maybe show them to your doctor, okay? I didn't say stop the medicine. I said gather information. Suppose you are way overweight, okay? Then I have a very excellent book for you to look at. It's Beyond Simply Keto. Susan Ryan, a wonderful book. And the first 30 pages, she discusses what the program is all about, Simply Keto. And then she has breakfasts and lunches and dinners and encourage you also to get a glucose monitor. So you eat something, you can take your iPhone now and put it on there and read your blood sugar. Yeah, Dexcom 6 is an excellent, the best of those. I tried Simply Lifestyle and some others. They're good, but Dexcom 6, it also keeps the graft, and you could all day long, an hour or two after you eat, you see what your sugar is. You can check it yourself. I think this is a good way. She encouraged you, and you can check for ketones too, see if you're on ketone metabolism. Remember, fasting, if you fast for 16 hours, that your blood sugar, after about 8 or 10 hours, you're out of sugar for energy, and you'll start using ketones and get your ketone level. Occasionally you find out imine ketone metabolism. It's not necessary, but then she has pictures of her recipes, and the foods are excellent. They taste good. They look good. And what happened to Susan Ryan? She lost over 100 pounds. But you can use it if you're not overweight, because her explanation of the whole system is excellent. The pictures, and she has the calorie counts, the amount of fat, the amount of protein, the amount of net carbohydrates. It's all at the bottom of the page, how long it takes to make it. So I encourage you to do that. Don't accept diabetes. You may take your shots and pills and live a little bit longer, but you will not live as long if you follow simply keto. Rudy's keto 16-8. Matter of fact, I found out now that those 2 meals could be pretty healthy, but if you decide I can't eat this way, just eat one healthy meal. Just have the 11 o'clock meal, have a cup of eggs, some guacamole, some good protein, and eat what you want. The last meal, odds are your diabetes will go away, you'll look great, feel great. Matter of fact, I found out if you did the fasting 16-8 and the 2 meals are reasonable, don't even eat one very good meal, odds are you'll be healthy anyway. So try what's works for you, but don't accept diabetes. Okay, we do some personal coaching too, and you can go to diabetessupportfortme.com, and that connects you to Kelly Marvin, who teaches cooking with me. But don't accept the pills and needles and disease. Oh, I'm fine. I don't want you to do that. I want you to get rid of the disease. I want you to prevent the disease. It's not hard. 3 to 6 weeks, no pills. Look at the money you'll save. Otherwise, diabetes, even if you accept it, take the pills and needles, you may live a little longer, but you'll cut 20 years off your life. You may be disabled for 20 years before you die too young. So in summary, listen to these shows, read these books. I see people for free at the Divine Cafe on Fridays, 11:30. Look at my YouTube shows, and you and I can dance past 100, looking good, feeling good. Like right now, I weigh 134 pounds, and all my blood tests, age 39 for the 40th time, were normal. I'm not bragging. I was going to show you that it can be done. Why have I declared war on diabetes? My bullets are information. I want you to live a long life and be happy, looking good, free of disease. And it's not hard, but you must step up to bat yourself. Thanks for watching the show. I do this because I care about you. Maybe I love you. Maybe I'm a doctor. It's what I should be doing. Thanks so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.